wanted to focus in on WCW. So when you go to WCW, obviously big contract, big deal. You move down to Atlanta. What is the structure like? Is it you and Ed, or is it a committee? Like, who's writing the show?
No, it started with me and Ed. I mean, that was the deal. You know, me and Ed were being hired to do what we did at WWE. So it was me and Ed. I mean, that was the plan. We had a game plan. We knew exactly what we wanted to do. The first 3 months in, we were seeing that plan through. We were doing exactly what we said we were going to do. When we took over, bro, the last show, I'll never forget it, bro. It's when they did 3 segments with Bret Hart and Benoit. That last show did a 2.5 rating. In 3 months, when Ed and I did the next 3 months, and keep in mind, it was 3-hour shows back then. When we did the next 3 months, we got it up to a 3.5 in those 3 months. And what the game plan was we had to, demolish the building that was already in place. And we had to brick by brick start building our foundation. And that's exactly what we were doing, bro, the first 3 months there. And like I said, listen, the ratings are out there for anybody to look at. And if you call it a failure, going from 2.5 to 3.5 in 3 months, I really want to understand what your definition of failure is. I mean, those numbers are out there. Anybody can look up the numbers. We were well on our way to delivering exactly what we promised them.
Now, when you're writing, like when you first get WCW, I used to have an old boss, and he used to put everybody's name on this big board and like where he wanted them, where he wanted them to be. Like, he had everybody. Is that like when you're a writer, you first get WCW, you're like, okay, see Brett and all these names. Do you have like a board of you have every guy listed where you want them to be and where they're going?
Not really, bro. We probably have in front of us just the roster. We probably have the paper in front of us. And, bro, we're literally going through the roster and making sure somehow, some way, as many people are involved as possible. Bro, a tricky thing at the beginning, too, that a lot of people don't realize is when we first took over, bro, they were they were in the middle of the Ready to Rumble filming. So off the bat, bro, there were a lot of guys I couldn't put on the show. Like, Page and, every week, different guys from the roster were filming that movie. So that was something that we had to deal with right off the bat that was a little difficult.
Interesting with that. I never really realized that because obviously it comes out in 2000, but obviously they got to film it in 99.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So you and Ed, is it, again, total collaboration between you two?
Yep.
I mean, there's no 1A, 1B. I mean, you guys are working together.
Absolutely, 100%. We were doing the same thing we were doing at the WWE at the beginning, exactly the same.
What do you take of Ed and the move? Like, was he totally for it? Did he want to leave with you? Because obviously you have your own separate story about leaving with Vince and him telling you to get a nanny. He would have,
bro. The funny thing was, I went down there on my own. And when I went down there, it was a Saturday. They interviewed me on a Saturday, and I brought up the idea of bringing Ed aboard. And I called Ed that night, and Ed was very, very interested. Bro, Ed did not get along with Vince. And I'll go as far as to say, I don't want to use the word hated, but Ed did not like Vince. 10 times more. Like, bro, I never disliked Vince or hated Vince. Like, I could tolerate Vince. Ed could not tolerate Vince. So when I called Ed and said, bro, listen, I'm going to WCW. They want you to fly down tomorrow. He was 100% in. Bro, I don't think for a second Ed would have stayed on at WWE as a writer if I had left. Because, bro, there were a couple of times when Ed was ready to leave, and the only time I got him to stay was because I went to Vince and got Ed more money. So I don't think Ed would have stayed there by himself at the WWE at all.
You know, he's got his story, but obviously yours. He told you to get a nanny, and basically they were going to give you a SmackDown, right? And it's like, oh, Vince, what the hell's going on here? Like, you didn't even
Yeah.
tell us.
Yeah.
He just expects you to work, and
Yeah.
not even think about
it was
home life.
more the nanny line than anything, you know. And it wasn't like, John, it wasn't the amount of work. It was the pride that Ed and I put into Raw. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into Raw, and now you're adding another show, and now it's like we realize this is not going to be our best work. I mean, having to write 2 shows, you're not going to get the type of quality you got with Raw, because we had put so much time into Raw, and now we were going to have to, like, bro, our shows, the quality of our shows really meant a lot to us. And we knew we were going to lose some of that quality if you added another show. And that really bothered us at the time. It wasn't the workload, bro. It was we were afraid that we weren't going to be able to put out the best shows with, 4 hours now, whatever the hell it was. But I mean, the nail in the coffin was the nanny line, without a shadow of a doubt.
So who hired you to WCW? Is it Bill Bush? Is it Brad Siegel? Who's the one that actually hires you?
Bill Bush and Brad Siegel were present at all the meetings. So at the end of the day, bro, it would have been Brad Siegel that hired me, but I worked directly with Bill Bush.
Brad Siegel, just tell me a little bit about him, because to me, he's somewhat of a strange character in the business, that he won't talk really wrestling. I've talked to him before, and this is so funny. I had a quote unquote interview with him, not interview, like I wanted to interview him. He said I could not be recording. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't record it, obviously, but he went on for like 15, 20 minutes, but then he's like, I don't really want to talk wrestling anymore, blah, blah. So it seems like he's not a wrestling guy.
Not at all, bro. As a matter of fact, after TNT, he went on and actually opened up a gospel station, bro, because I actually had a couple of meetings with him and like trying to do something with him. Absolutely not a wrestling fan, bro. He was a TV network executive guy, not a wrestling fan at all.
He did not want to talk about Scott Hall either.
Oh, really? I could have.
Right, he dated his niece, right, or
yes,
whatever.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But it was just one of those things where it's like, wow, Brad Siegel seems like he's almost like anti-wrestling,
Yeah.
anti the business, like total corporate guy.
Yeah, bro. I'm sure all that too left a bad taste in his mouth. I mean, I'm really sure it did, but no, not a wrestling guy at all, bro, at all.
Because I remember reading old interviews with him, and he talked about like when football was on the station, he'd really pump up. We have football. It wasn't like and he's like, oh, and we have wrestling. It's a high show. Like he would always pump up. We got tennis. We got he'd pump up other stuff.
Yeah.
Total TNT corporate guy, not a wrestling guy at all.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
What about Bill Bush?
Not at all. He was an accountant, so not a wrestling guy. Absolutely not a wrestling guy.
So when you, let's say you, Ed, write the show and you put it together, does Bill Bush or Siegel or somebody have to look, like Vince McMahon would look at the final show, be like, yep, check it off. It's great.
No.
It's just you guys, and you guys are in charge.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Yeah.
What position do they call you guys? Like what's the title?
I don't know, bro. I'm not even sure what was on my contract, but it wasn't more than head writer. Bro, that's why a lot of people think like I ran No, bro, I wrote the show. I mean, that's all I did. I did the same thing at WWE that I did at WCW. We wrote the show. I wasn't involved in the hiring and firing. I had nothing to do with any of that. Ed and myself, we wrote the show. That's what we did.
So I always try to ask Kevin Sullivan, hey, what did Piper get? How much money? He's like, I'm not in charge of WCW.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how much money Piper made.
People think we know that, bro. I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue of contracts, what people are getting paid. I don't have a clue.
So when you go in and you're first there, what's the temperature like? Is they always said WCW is a political cesspool?
Oh, forget it, bro. Forget it. I mean, the day I walked in the building, I knew like this is bad. The first thing I noticed, bro, was you had a clear-cut split in the locker room. You had all the main event money guys stayed here and everybody else stayed there. It was almost like a two-class system, bro. You noticed that and saw that without a shadow of a doubt. And I was getting kind of cross looks from the veteran side of it, because I guess I had a reputation of, helping the younger guys and the underneath guys. I mean, bro, I can remember Hulk just kind of gazing at me, like just glaring a hole. I can remember that. Bro, it wasn't so much with like the Hall and the Nashes, because they worked with me a little bit, especially Kevin. Kevin knew me. But I'm talking about, bro, working with Hogan for the first time and working with Flair for the first time. I knew, bro, these guys did not trust me no matter what I did or what I said. Bro, this is where the paranoia of the wrestler comes into play. All they're concerned about is not losing their spots. And in their mind, Vince Russo is the guy that is coming in. I'm going to promote the young guys and they're going to lose. Bro, I knew all this was happening. I knew all this was happening, bro, but I had a job to do. And Ed and I had a plan, and I was committed to the plan, and I was committed to the company. Bro, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that as I start building the younger guys, the group in the middle, the Guerreras and the Benoits and those guys, bro, I knew the Hogans and the Flairs were going to run to management. Guys like Bill Bush did not have a clue as to what was going on, so he was going to be worked very easily. Bro, I knew it. Like I'm not an idiot. I'm a New Yorker, bro. I knew what was going on, but I knew I had a job to do, and I was committed to that job, even though I knew, bro, seeing that vision and that plan through was probably going to cost me my job. I knew that, but it's what WCW desperately needed to do at the time.
So Hulkster obviously will kind of almost not work his way out, but I mean, he kind of fades out a little bit. He loses to Sting, and he just walks out. Flair gets buried in the desert, and he always says, he's like, "Oh, that's symbolism." Was it symbolism?
Bro, the whole idea was, and that is absolute bullshit. 1,000% bullshit. Bro, I had an incentive clause in my contract. The higher the rating, the more money I made. Okay. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are draws. They are icons, bro. I would be an absolute ass to write them off the shows. Now, before I got there, these guys were still wrestling and were just wrestlers on the roster. No, bro, they had to be moved into a role that was more suited for them at where they were in their career. But for the idea of me writing them off the show, absolute bullshit. Bro, the idea was, and if you saw what we did, it would be as clear as day. Bro, the idea was to get rid of the legends one by one. Okay? And if you notice, bro, Hogan, Flair, we did it with Piper. We did it with Henning. If Henning loses one more match, he's out. Yep. We did it with Duggan. Duggan was, we were demoralizing the legends, and one by one they were disappearing. Piper, Savage, one by one they were disappearing. Bro, the game plan was these guys were going to come back united like the Avengers. But this is way before there was the Avengers franchise in the movie. But they were going to come back united. Henning, Flair, Hogan, Savage, Piper, Henning, Duggan. They were going to come back united because, bro, the beauty of that story was these guys were fighting for their jobs against management but how were all these personalities going to get along? How was Piper going to get along with Hogan? How was Hogan going to get along with Flair? How was Savage going to get along? That was the dynamic and the story. And they were all told that, bro. They were all told that. That's why Flair was buried in a desert. That's why, we did the lay down with Hogan. That's why if Hennig lost the match, he was out. That's why when Savage came out, the first promo he cut was directed to me. That's why Jim Duggan was made to be my janitor. That was the game plan. But these guys were so paranoid that I was writing them off TV that they got in Bill Bush's ear. They worked Bill Bush. He don't know what's going on. And, bro, you got to understand, I knew all this. None of this came as a surprise to me. So they got to Bush. They got in his ear, and that's when I was called in. And Bill Bush, literally white as a ghost, tells me, Vince, we're taking a change in direction, which told me he didn't believe in it because the ratings were going up, bro. Like, because I remember saying, all right, let me get this straight, bro. We've gone from a 2.5 to a 3.5 in 3 months, and you're making a change in direction. Like, that's very odd to me, Bill. Like, white as a ghost. Like, couldn't even answer me, which told me he was worked, by wrestling. And I just sat there, bro, very calmly because I saw it coming. And I just said, you know what, Bill? That's not what my contract states. My contract states I am the head of creative. I have no interest in being part of your committee. I said, so I'm going to go home, tell Brad to get a hold of me. Let me know how we're going, how he's going to pay out my contract. And I'll just go on my way because I saw it all happening, bro, in those first 3 months.
So the politics, they're not going to let it play out.
Right.
Like literally the powers that be, you're Vince, behind the scenes, but your voice is on camera.
Right.
JR is Ed, Oklahoma.
Right.
Gerald and Pat Briscoe, or Pat Patterson, Jerry Briscoe, obviously the Harris twins.
Right.
Shane is Virgil.
Right.
I mean, you guys had all the funny, poke fun guys in place, but backstage, it was very much the guys were actually kind of taking everything.
So paranoid, bro. So freaking paranoid. I mean, oh yeah, bro. Like I said, man, you got to understand, bro. I'm a normal guy. I worked jobs before this. I had my own businesses. I was never in the wrestling bubble. So like when you're kind of on the outside looking in on all this, bro, you tend to be smarter than everybody else because they think they're so smart and they think they're so brilliant. You know what, bro? In that world, they might be. But the outside world, bro, that has lived outside of the wrestling bubble, bro, you see right through this shit. So, like I said, bro, my first 3 months with Ed, we were doing our job. We were getting results, but I knew what was going on.
It's funny, Disco, the puppet over your right shoulder, has come to bat for you when people are like, oh, Vince Russo is very disorganized, blah, blah. He was saying you were the only organized guy there for years because you would do production meetings. You would get the scripts. I mean, you would get everything together. He said it was very almost overly organized, where beforehand he said it was very mishmash.
Bro, this is a true story. I swear to God, I'll never forget the first TV we went to. I think it was in Biloxi. I'm almost positive it was in Biloxi. But I remember showing up to the building. No shit. And I said, what time is a production meeting? Whether it was to Keith, Mitchell, somebody. And bro, I'll never forget. They looked at me and they said, what is a production meeting? It never existed. They never existed, bro. We were 100% in control. We had the script. We had the meet. Like it was no different, bro, than what we were doing at WWE. The only difference is there was no Vince. So that was big, bro, because Meaning there was no Vince also means there was nobody that had my back. You see, in the WWE, bro, I was so valuable to Vince that if you messed with me, you messed with him. So nobody screwed with me, bro, politically. So I was able to concentrate just on the show. I did not have that protection here. So I was open game, bro, from day one.
So there's political stuff going on. I mean, like crazy. It seems like the older guard is very cognizant of like, hey, I don't want to lose my spot. You
Yep.
guys are trying to push up the younger guys,
Yep.
and obviously Benoit, Malenko, Eddie, and Saturn play a role in this because as we're leading into January, they become as you're about to leave. I mean, they all are getting ready to leave. Obviously, they've had talks with Bruce Pritchard, possibly illegally. Don't want to say allegedly illegally, or whatever, however legal way you want to go about it. But they not really supposed to be. They're under contract WCW. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, whatever it is, they're in WWF. So obviously there was talks beforehand. You don't just go, oh, I'm out of here, and all of a sudden land me
Nah,
the
bro, I
company.
think they kind of did when I left. Like when, bro, keep in mind, like I'm writing TV. These guys go to a TV. Russo is not there anymore, and Sullivan's in charge.
Right.
So they knew, holy shit. And a lot of those guys, bro, for whatever reason, and I wasn't there. A lot of them had heat with Kevin, and a lot of them, now that Kevin was back in charge, that's when the phone calls were made. And that was like I said, bro, that first week when I was not there, I think they tried to put the belt on Benoit to make him happy, but those guys were like gone the next week.
Benoit, as the story goes, hands over the belt, says, I'm out of here. I don't want to be champion.
Yeah.
Dean, Eddie, and Perry leave with him. So you lose all those guys who were a huge part of the show.
Yep.
Then Bret Hart gets hurt with concussion.
Yep.
Then Jeff Jarrett gets hurt with a concussion.
Yep.
Then Goldberg slices his arm open from punching his hand through a limo. I mean, you literally lost 7 guys, which is insane to think. 7 guys in a month.
And bro, that's it still would have been okay. There were so many guys employed at WCW that it would not have been an issue. So like that, bro, it was everybody was falling, bro. Everybody was getting hurt and everybody was falling. But we would have been fine. I mean, there was enough depth at WCW that I don't think that would have affected our writing.
So you go home for a few months and then come back. Were you always in talks with Brad about coming back?
Never, bro. Bro, I swear to God, this is the truth. So we leave and it's a 3.5. Every week the rating is going back down to a 2.5. Okay. So finally they get back to in 3 months we went from a 2.5 to a 3.5. 3 months without me there, they went back from a 3.5 to a 2.5. So that's when Brad called because, bro, all I cared about, I swear to you, bro, I did not want to go back. All I cared about was I got a check every 2 weeks. That's all I cared about. I did not want to go back to work. I did not want to be in that environment. I was just every 2 weeks, bro. I am not shitting you. I was at that mailbox making sure that they were paying me. So no, bro, there was not constant talk. It was after the 3 months, it was a call from Siegel that said, I want you to meet somebody at this restaurant. I knew who he was talking about. There was no question in my mind. Bro, listen, you can't force people to just work together and think it's going to work. From day one, bro, Eric Bischoff and myself are 2 completely different animals. The first time I sat down with him, it was at a restaurant in Atlanta that's no longer there called Hops. You got to understand something, bro. He's sitting across the guy that ultimately was partially responsible for him losing his job at WCW, because I was writing for the WWE when we turned the tide, and then he got fired. And then on top of that, creatively, I was the guy hired to replace him. So Eric, off the bat, has every reason in the world not to like me. Every reason in the world, bro. Plus, he wants his old job back without a shadow of a doubt. Me, on the other hand, bro, the guy came across to me as arrogant, cocky, conceited, things that were important to Eric, money, power, they were not important to me. The thing that was always important to me, bro, was writing and producing the best show I possibly could. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about being the boss. I didn't care about people being afraid of me. I get in the trenches and I work. So from day one, bro, you had two personalities here that were never going to get along.
It did seem like an odd pairing.
Yeah. It's just we're oil and water, bro. We're just two different people.
Sometimes even sports, like they put guys together that, oh, they were good here, they're good there, let's put them together. It doesn't work. And then all of a sudden they play like a team, a cohesive team, like let's say WWE was, where they had all the pieces in place. There's no way to beat them because they're an actual team against guys that are just playing on their own, basically.
That's it, bro. Absolutely. Yep.
So with that, it almost kind of had your idea of the Millionaires Club, where all the old guys are together, all the quote unquote rich guys, they're together against the new blood, the young guys, some of them not so young, but the younger guys, maybe the mid card guys, maybe the guys that thought they deserved the push, Scott Steiner, Booker T, Jeff Jarrett, like those kind of guys. Is that the structure that he wanted to, or is that kind of your storyline?
No, that was both of us, bro. We met beforehand, him and I, and we basically came up with that storyline and all that stuff together.
April 10th, 2000 is pretty memorable Nitro. I mean, everybody hands over the title. Bischoff makes the funny remark to Sid, hand it over, make sure you don't have scissors, making little jokes, little shoot comments, I guess you would say in wrestling. But did you think that was going to be something? Because everybody was interested in it. Everything was hot, but that was almost like, okay, let's see if Bischoff and Russo can get along and for how long they can get along together.
Bro, listen, there were, bro, he wanted his job back, and I was in the way of that. It wasn't going to work, bro. It just wasn't going to work. And the thing that really set me off, bro, here's what really set me off. I was doing all the work, and Eric was sitting in the high office. Eric would be like the Tuesday morning quarterback, whereas going into the show, he would like everything. And then all of a sudden Tuesday, I don't know if it was based on internet or what, but all of a sudden on Tuesday, he didn't like this, he didn't like that, and he didn't like the other thing. Okay. So my whole thing is, bro, either get in the trenches and freaking work, because you're not, to me, you're not mightier than thou. Okay, bro, I was the one that physically wrote the show. See, that's the thing, bro. A lot of people, this clown's one of them too. they think creative is coming to a meeting for an hour and throwing ideas out there. That's what they think creative. They have no idea, bro, what goes into writing a television show. This guy, Bischoff, they never wrote a television show, bro. I'm talking about from 1 minute to 3 hours. They never did that. They have no idea what it takes, bro. That is a lot of work. You've got to write out every promo with bullet points, every commercial break, every hook, every music entry. You got it, bro. It's literally like a movie script every week. That's what I did. I did all that work, bro. So now, I got this guy sitting up here. Oh, I didn't like this. I didn't like that. And I'm like, F this, bro. F this. And bro, that's why this doesn't get talked a lot about, but I called Brad Siegel because I was so sick of working with Eric. And in this structure, I said, Brad, Let Eric do creative. I'm done, bro. I'm done. Bro, I even was talking to my lawyer at that point. Bro, you need to get me out of this deal no matter what it cost me. No matter what it cost me, I don't want to be in this deal. That's the position I was in. So I said, Brad, put Eric in charge of creative. I'm done. I'm done, bro. I can't work like this. Brad held an emergency meeting, bro. He had me and Eric fly out to LA, and it was the three of us in like some kind of a bus or a camper or something. And I basically said what I'm telling you now. I basically said that in front of Eric. These are some of the reasons why Eric really hates me, because I basically laid out to Brad, bro, let him write the creative, bro. If he thinks he could do it, let him do it. But bro, Brad was like, no, like that's not what I want. I want you to write the show. So it was kind of left like, okay, Vince, you're going to write the show on your own and Eric's going to stay out of it. That's how it was kind of left. Well, bro, that Sunday was Bash at the Beach. And from that point on, it was over.
And we have a whole show, so I'm not going to get into it, but we have a whole show, me and you, on your YouTube, which is great. I think it's like 45,000 views. It's a really good amount of views, but anybody who hasn't seen it, definitely check that out. We go break that thing down into detail on Hogan's creative control and what was supposed to happen, all that.
Bro, there were 2 times. Eric despises me, bro, because that time with Siegel, and there was one time with Dixie Carter where I called him out in front of Dixie. Bro, Eric does not like to be called out. Nobody calls out Eric, bro. Nobody. I guarantee you I was the only guy that did it, not once, but twice. That's why he has this hatred towards me. But bro, the reason why I did that is I'm not going to play politics. Let's get this all out in the open, man to man. I'll say what I want to say. You say what you want to say. Brad Siegel's sitting right there. Dixie Carter's sitting right there. So it's not behind anybody's back. It's all in the open. That's how I do business, bro. And like I said, man, I did it once with Siegel at WCW. Then I did it with Dixie, and that does not work well with him.
I saw recently, which is very big of you. I saw recently Khan was kind of bad mouthing Bischoff, who knows, work or shoot or whatever's going on there. But you said to think anything less of Bischoff or to discredit him in the business and think his opinion doesn't matter is silly. So I thought that was pretty big of you.
Oh, you know, see, bro, that's the thing. I don't have any animosity towards him. Like, bro, Eric has said over and over again he would never be on the same show as me. He would never lower himself. Bro, I've never talked that crap. What I've always said is, bro, we were two people with 2 totally different personalities that were never going to get along. That's what I've said. I never blamed anybody. Like, he was a certain way, I was a certain way. We were never going to get along. So, bro, I have zero animosity towards that guy today. None. Zero.
So obviously Bash at the Beach happens. You end up staying. Bischoff goes. Who knows what really happened with Hogan and Bischoff as far as them thinking one thing and then suing, and who knows what's going on in their head. But you're still there. I mean, you're staying with WCW. You try to do kind of almost like a realism angle with Nash and Goldberg and Scott Steiner saying like, oh, they're not following the script. Was that something where you wanted to make it seem like wrestling was like we're making it real, or what was the thought process in that storyline?
The thought process, bro, is to add a reality to the business. Bro, everybody knows it's a work. We know it's a work. Bro, the interesting elements is what's really going on backstage, what's really happening in the company, what's happening, the politics. That's the interesting part, bro.
Especially WCW.
Yeah, if that's what wrestling became today, guess what, bro? You may turn off the 500,000 people that watch Rampage on Friday night. You would have 5 million television viewers that weren't necessarily wrestling marks. bro, you would have them addicted to this show. But you know why nobody does it, bro? It goes back to the wrestling bubble. No, brother. They want long matches. Bro, dwindling numbers don't show you that they don't want long matches. Bro, I just started reviewing the Attitude Era.
Right.
Bro, the matches are 3, 4, 5 minutes. 8 million people were watching that show. All of a sudden, matches have become 12, 15, 20 minutes, and you got 1.5 million people watching Raw. Like, what don't you understand?
That is crazy to think that like longer match. I know some longer matches I've noticed can hold up, but most of them do not because you literally and this happens all the time. AEW, if you look at the ratings, people know this 15-minute match. They know who's going to win. It's so predictable. They turn it off. They come back or
That's
you
it,
turn it
bro.
off and you may not come back. You know, Attitude Era, you could turn off, put on WCW, but you're almost like I don't want to miss it. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, The Godfather. You know what I mean? You don't want to miss that.
It's there. The data is there for them. It is there for them. But they don't, they're such marks, bro, that they want to do it their way. And bro, you got to think differently when it comes to AEW because you got to understand money doesn't matter. So whether Tony Khan, whose dad is a billionaire, makes or loses money doesn't matter. You got to take that out of the equation. So if Tony Khan, who is a mark, can have all these action figures and be Booker of the Year and that's all he wants. I mean, that's all he wants. But meanwhile, people like me are sitting here saying, bro, you can quadruple your audience if you just did this the right way. But
and it's funny, somebody on Castrating the Marks, I forget who it was, one of the guys was saying, oh, AEW is profitable. According to Tony Khan himself, 2 months ago into Forbes said they're not profitable. They're in the red. So you can't just be a wrestling, quote-unquote, journalist and say that the company's profitable. When the company owner, who you think is being 100% honest because it's a negative on the company, says they're not profitable. So they got to get their shit together over there. But obviously, he's not profitable right now. He's in the red.
Right. And he's going to keep adding more talent and more talent. And, bro, here's one of my predictions, too. Bro, I collect albums. I have about 4,000 albums. Okay. My wife tells me I don't need any more albums. And my wife has this idea, okay, for every album you buy now, you're going to get rid of one. And I'm like, no, I ain't getting rid of nothing. I collect albums. I'm not getting rid of any of these. The number's going to grow. Bro, Tony Khan collects wrestlers. He's not going to release anybody, bro. He's going to collect more action figures and more wrestlers. And that payroll is going to go up. But it's not about making money. Bro, with Dixie Carter, the Carters had money, but were not billionaires, bro. So we were always faced with a budget. Money came into play a lot with TNA. That doesn't matter here. So it's really hard to look at, apples to apples when it doesn't matter if they make money or not.
Yeah. Did WCW have a budget or that wasn't your department either? Like you weren't concerned with that?
No, I was not concerned with that. No.
Did you get to pick and choose who was coming in? Like when Lance Storm comes in, did you say I want Lance Storm, or you weren't a part of that either? You weren't a part of talent relations.
No, if I wanted to bring somebody in, I would talk to JJ Dillon. I would talk to JJ Dillon. If other people, on the committee, Disco or whatever, we wanted to bring somebody in, I would go to JJ and I'd say, JJ, we're interested in so and so, but never. Okay, we want him for 3 years for the none of that was ever discussed. Just we were interested in the talent.
What was the relationship like with JJ? Because obviously he's Flair's really good friend.
That's what happened.
He's part of the old guard.
That's what happened, bro. JJ was in the middle of all of that. Flair in JJ's ear, JJ in Bill Bush's ear. So he was one of those people. Bro, Sullivan was too. I mean, like I'm not gonna lie, bro. When
Flair's boy.
Yeah, bro. When when you're someplace and all of a sudden you look over here and two people are having a conversation. As soon as they see you looking at them, They stopped talking. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Like, I knew. So it was Sullivan, it was J.J. Dillon, it was Ric Flair. Bro, I knew what was going on. But, bro, my mentality was, I swear to God, my mentality was, bro, I'm not going to play politics. So go ahead and replace me, and we'll see what happens. I mean, seriously, because I knew what would happen. And exactly what I thought would happen did happen. And, that's why 3 months later, they wound up calling me back.
And eventually, you do win the WCW, like we said at the top, WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
Now, the puppet, the Disco Man, he says that you did that because you were a mark for yourself and you wanted to be, champion.
He's such an idiot.
Is that true? Is that true?
Bro, you know what people don't understand? And I have proof to this. Bro, if you put on AEW, if you put on Raw, it's the same shit every week.
Right.
Wrestlers want to fight each other because they're wrestlers. That's why I mean, bro, some of the storylines in the WWE the last couple of weeks were, okay, 3 guys wanted to be the face of WWE, so they got to fight over that. Then they came out actually one week and they were all reading their resumes. Bro, WWE is guys want to fight because they're wrestlers, okay? Bro, when you're writers, here's the thing. Number one, I never wanted to repeat what a wrestling fan had already seen. So we were constantly thinking of new looks, new stories, new ideas, stuff you hadn't seen before, okay? So, bro, when you create a scenario of Vince Russo has a match against Booker T, almost gets killed by Goldberg, but in the process is the first one to leave the cage. When you write something like that, bro, that wasn't supposed to happen, all of a sudden what that does is it opens up the creative envelope, because now, bro, you have all these opportunities for storylines that would not have been available prior. So that's why David Arquette becomes a champion. That's why Russo wins the belt, because creatively, bro, because these things weren't supposed to happen, bro, now you've got 5, 6, 7, 10 different directions you could go in that you never had before. The only people that would truly understand that, bro, are writers. If you're a writer and you're writing 116 shows a year, you would understand why you have moments like that.
So he's wrong. You didn't just want to have a picture with the belt and everything else.
He knows that he's wrong. He's an idiot, bro.
I think he said you wrote yourself to be champion because you wanted to have a picture with the belt, and you always wanted to be the champion because you were always.
First of all, bro, let me tell you a couple of things. Number one, I couldn't even tell you what that belt looks like. Number one. Number two, I don't even think there ever was a picture of the belt. But, bro, here's the thing that makes me crack up more than anything. So I almost get killed in winning the belt because Goldberg spears me out of the cage. That was a Nitro.
Yep.
Bro, the very next Thunder, I relinquished the belt. That's what we're talking about here, bro.
Yeah.
The very next show, I give up the belt. Vince Russo did not have a title reign. The very next show, because, bro, the bottom line was, I should have never won, okay? I almost got killed in the process. Now that all of a sudden I have this thing, bro, I don't want this thing. That's why the very next show I did I got nothing to prove. Like, I kicked Booker's ass. That's why I did that. But, bro, the fact that people still make an issue out of it when it was from one show to the next.
Oh, they go crazy about it. Yeah, they go nuts,
bro.
It's
ridiculous, bro.
Did you get a concussion from that spear and hitting your head on the outside?
Oh God, big time. That bro, I had many concussions leading up to that. That was the one that ended it. Like, that one I was done. After that one, that's when I went home. I was finished physically, bro. I had whatchamacallit, vertigo, horrible that bouts of vertigo. I had post-concussion syndrome, and that was the final nail.
Did you say anything to Goldberg like, "Hey, man, I'm not a really wrestler. Like, that was a bit stiff," or was
Oh,
there
bro,
ever?
during the day, I already had a concussion. I was wrestling with a concussion, and I told him that. I'm like, bro, I'm concussed. You got to take care of me. And like, bro, I'll never forget, there were two, metal barricades. And I'm like, bro, you got to land me right between these, right between the, oh yeah, Vince, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem. Bro, he drilled me right into the barricade, and that was it, bro. That I was done at that point.
So what was the final straw to leaving WCW for good? I guess it would be somewhere towards October of 2000. What was like the end game there, or basically maybe November? But
Bro,
what was the final straw?
the final straw really was, bro, I'll be honest with you, I was still writing the best show I could. I was still giving it my all, bro, giving the same effort, like through it all. But all of a sudden, bro, you'd show up for work, and all everybody was talking about was the sale of the company. Nobody even cared about the show anymore. Like, it didn't even matter. It was all about, oh, we going to be sold? Who are we going to be sold? Who's going to buy? Is Eric going to? Every time you went to TV, that's all it was. So I said to myself, why am I going to put any more effort into this show when nobody gives a shit about the show? And that's when I was like, you know what, bro? Between my concussions and the doctor telling me I don't need any more stress with the head trauma, I'm done. And that was it, bro. That's when I went home.
Were you working under a committee at that point too? Was it a bunch of guys? Was it you, Ed?
Yeah, it
Somebody?
was. I mean, I was the guy, but like I had put a committee together and we were working together. Yes.
Who else was in it? Was it Bill Banks?
Bill Banks, I think Borash was in there early. I brought Jeremy in. Ed was there. Disco was there. Terry Taylor was there. That's the gist of it, I think.
Would you ever call Bill Banks your assistant like Tony Khan did to QT Marshall?
Never, bro. I never, never. Bro, bro, listen, I kind of broke Bill Banks in. I broke Jeremy in, and Jeremy's doing great things today.
Oh yeah.
I broke in at TNA, Matt Conway. I always took the young guy under my wing. Bro, never in a million years would have referred to those guys as my assistant. Ever, ever, ever.
So you leave WCW, obviously, then Bischoff and Johnny Ace are kind of in control. Terry Taylor's writing some of the shows. You see that they get sold to WWF. What were your like initial thoughts? Like, oh, I knew it was going to happen, or just complete shock?
Bro, I want my money. I don't care at that point. Like, I swear to God, I am so done with this. I don't care. I don't want to go work for the WWE. I want to be done with this. I just wanted to make sure I got my 2 years pay. That's all I cared about, bro.
Interesting to note this. Stu Snyder worked for WWF for only a small window. Brad Siegel's college roommate and best friend. They, in that small window, maybe maybe I'm crazy, conspiracy theory maybe. In that small window, they get that sale done for $4 million when Bischoff offered $65 million. Something could be, and then Stu Snyder's gone after WWF makes the
Oh, is that how much Bischoff offered?
Yeah, they had $65 million was up for.
Wow, I never knew that, bro. That's ridiculous.
But
bro.
that's with TV, and they're going to be on TBS and TNT.
But they didn't want to be on TV, right?
Right. Jamie
Right.
Kellner said no more TV, which Jamie Kellner looks like an idiot. Imagine if you went to like your boss was like, we could have a $65 million offer or a $4 million offer, and you take the $4 million offer.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially like 65. Okay, give him the TV. I mean, yeah. I never knew it was that amount, bro. Never knew.
Crazy. Yeah. And he had his whole group together, Bischoff. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a team together, and the guy was used to it. He did the ESPN Classic. He built when they were.
Bro, I'll tell you this right now. And this, bro, like I said, this show, I don't have any heat with Eric. Bro, I'll tell you right now, without a doubt, I say this without a doubt. If Eric were Tony Khan, I think those ratings right now would be doubled. Without a shadow of a doubt, if Eric were running that company instead of Khan, I think they would have twice the number of people watching that show today. I really believe that, bro. I honestly believe that.
I wouldn't mind if Bischoff went on their TV now and said what he's saying on his podcast and just was a character, because it's true. Like, a lot of stuff that he's saying is great.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Could you see that maybe? Is that in the works?
Bro, they don't get the joke, man. They don't, they don't, bro, that generation and the Tony Khans of the world, they're so super sensitive. Like, they don't understand you can create this through, shoot promos and reality, but you're professional enough to work together. They don't get that concept. It's like, if you talk about us, you're the enemy. You're an idiot, bro. Can you imagine if they had me on there cutting a promo? Like, you're an idiot. You can work together, bro. You don't need to get your feelings hurt because of what Eric Bischoff is saying or what Vince Russo is saying. It is a business, but bro, this generation today, if you're not putting them over, you're the freaking enemy, bro, and they will do everything they can to publicly bury you, and that's freaking ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, just imagine let's say you had a heel stable, like almost like Dan Lambert, like you had a heel stable. I mean, the heat that you would get, oh my God. Would you be open to it?
Bro, I got to be honest with you. Like, for me, like, I really believe like traveling is over. Like, I don't know what it would take, man, to get me out of the house on a weekly basis. I don't think there's enough money. I swear to God, John, if somebody said be a character on the show for $1 million, just show up at TV, I would not do that. Wow. Just the traveling, bro, obviously in the world that we live in, I can't put myself through that again. Bro, the politics have not changed. And it's one thing, bro, when you're in your 30s, bro, at 60 years old, I'm not going to deal with that at this point in my life. Like, all the money in the world, I would not be. Now, I've talked about, would I consult? Bro, if I could do stuff sitting right here, you want me to write? You want me to watch your show and critique your show and throw you some ideas? Maybe you want to give me a Bray Wyatt. Vince, what do we do with this guy? Bro, that's fine. I'll do that from here. But to get back in that system, bro, never, ever, ever in a million years, bro.
With the WCW time, do you look back at anything fondly? Like maybe just the paycheck, or
leaving. Bro, seriously, the day my contract ended was the happiest day of my life. Bro, the funny thing was, they wanted me to sign a 3-year contract, and I said no. I said, I'm out of here in 2 years, because at that time, I was kind of done with the business. So I said, no, bro, 2 years. That's all I'm signing. But they actually wanted me to sign for 3 years. Bro, I don't even regret leaving that money on the table, because I was so happy, bro, when that part of my life came to an end.
Seems like the few good things did pop up, like Booker T becoming a star, Scott Steiner becoming a star. I mean, there's a few obviously bright spots, but overall, you would say,
bro, I'll tell you two things that came out of that. Honestly, for me, two things. No doubt in my mind, the proudest moment of my wrestling career was Booker T becoming the champion, because, bro, at the end of the day, I was personally sued for that. I've never been sued in my life, bro. I've never, ever been in that kind of trouble. Hulk Hogan sued me for defamation of character, and that all stemmed back to me not putting the belt on him. And I stood my ground, because the right thing to do was to put the belt on Booker. I got sued. I had to go through depositions. It was a living hell. I would not have traded that moment in for the world. That is my proudest proudest achievement, hands down.